Hi, I'm Rachel Ward, and this is The Kitchen by Simone Buchholz, which has recently been published in paperback by Orenda Books, and was also recently a Times Crime Fiction Book of the Month, and I'm going to read a bit from my translation from near the beginning. What's wrong with you? I got a couple of uniformed colleagues to drop me off in the Speicherstadt. There was quite a kerfuffle at the crime scene, and then the divers on top of that, plus the constant heat. When you're hanging around somewhere like a spare part, you soon start to get on people's nerves, and somebody has to check on Fala. Since he retired 3 months ago, Fala has always sat in the exact same place, and he's sitting there right now, at the foot of the lighthouse. The lighthouse is in the port, at the tip of a little bit of land. Fala says that he sits there from dawn to dusk for fun. I don't believe a word of it. Fala's never liked sitting around anywhere. Carla says that Fala sits there because he's trying to clear his head of the last 30 years, and I think he's onto something. The old man has got to sit there. Otherwise he'd be pottering comfortably around at home, reading the paper in peace and watching the things in his garden grow. The stuff you do when you've taken early retirement, when you're sick and tired of it all. I turn left, past the Kaispeicher. You can see the little red and white ringed lighthouse from miles off. It always seems like it's made of Lego, sitting there so small and cute and so utterly pointless, looking over the massive port basin, all the container ships, cranes and huge brick buildings. Nobody actually has any use for it, apart from Fala, of course. It's quite clear that he needs it. The path to the lighthouse isn't paved, and the heat's made it dusty. Good job I've got boots on. I feel like Clint Eastwood in person. 2 weeks ago, when it poured for days on end, this was an ugly swamp, and I felt the same way then. Like Eastwood, that is, not like a swamp. Fala sitting on a folding chair. He's wearing a white shirt and grey suit trousers. He's hung the jacket over the back of the chair, and he's swapped his old fedora for a straw hat to keep the sun off. There's a fishing rod in his hand. That's new. Fala? He turns his head, looks at me and pushes his hat up with his index finger, just a few centimetres. What's all this fishing rod shit about, I ask. He looks back at the water. You're surely not going to tell me you catch any fish here, old man? He leans back in his seat and sighs. And what if you do catch anything, I ask? Where are you going to put it? I can't see a bucket or anything. Fala looks at the water. Want me to get you a bit of bait at least? He looks at me as if I'd asked him if he wants me to get him some coked-up teenage whores at least. That was a serious question. I say, you're not going to get much for supper like this. He stretches out his hand. I sit down beside him on the dusty ground, and he puts his arm around my shoulders. My God, it's hot here. Where the hell hasn't Fala got heat stroke hours ago? A paddle steamer goes past beneath our noses. Makes me think of Belhaven in the deep south, my dad's hometown. Everything here is just as it should be, says Fala. Why don't I believe that? Instead of answering, he pulls 2 Rothändler out of his shirt's breast pocket. The pocket covers the exact spot where the bullet went in. He got seriously lucky. Sometimes I wake up in the morning with the feeling that he's not here, that his heart didn't actually make it. At those times I try not to call him. I don't want to bother him with his own death first thing in the morning. He pops both the cigarettes in his mouth, pulls a lighter from his trouser pocket, lights them, hands me one and says, You ought to get back to smoking more. I drag on the Rothändler, which makes me cough. We stare at the water for a while, smoking. So, my girl, he says, what's up? We found a head, I say. Oh. And some feet and hands. Double O. Man or woman? Man, I say. Just lying around? No, it was all neatly packaged up in a bin bag in the River Elbe, along with a couple of heavy stones to stop the parcel from floating. So why did it surface then? They're dredging, I say, clearing silt. Dredger guy got a surprise when he opened the bag. Bugger, how's he doing? Don't think he was that fussed. He was sitting around in the police car getting the sun on his bare belly and cracking jokes about the weather. Seems pretty robust. He says he pulled a woman out of the water a few days ago just round the corner at the Moorfleet Dyke. And how did my lads handle it? Okay, I say. Schuller started by throwing up behind the car. Calabretta? Still in Naples, I say. He's not back till Sunday.